$2. That is all this costs. $2. You can find it at any garden store, any farm supply shop, sometimes even at your local grocery store. $2 for a small bag of white powder that most people walk right past without a second glance. And that $2 bag will eliminate every single roach in your home. Permanently. Not for a week, not for a month, forever. Right now, somewhere in a boardroom, executives at a billion-dollar pest control company are hoping you never finish watching this video. Because what you are about to learn does not just kill roaches, it destroys their entire business model. The sprays, the monthly service contracts, the technicians who show up, spray something that smells expensive, and disappear until next month's bill arrives. All of it, gone, replaced by $2 and 5 minutes of your time. This is not a hack someone invented last week. This is not a tip from a random corner of the internet. This is a solution that has existed for thousands of years, validated by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, studied in university laboratories across 3 continents, and quietly used by people who figured out the game being played against them. The pest control industry generates $26 billion every single year. They spend millions on advertising, millions more on lobbying, and not 1 cent on telling you what you are about to hear. Stay with me until the 8-minute mark. That is where everything changes. Let me be direct with you about something. $26 billion. That is the size of the pest control industry right now. $26 billion built on a single, ruthless idea, never actually solved the problem. Think about that for one moment. If your roach problem was solved permanently, you would never call them again. You would never sign another service contract. You would never pay another monthly fee. You would become useless to them. And a customer who stops paying is the only thing these companies genuinely fear. So they designed a system, a beautiful, invisible system that traps you inside it. Their sprays attack the roach's nervous system. Fast acting, impressive looking. Roaches die within hours and you feel like the problem is solved. But here's what they never tell you. Roaches reproduce every single cycle faster than the chemicals can eliminate them. The survivors pass on chemical resistance to their offspring. Within 3 to 5 generations, the entire colony has adapted. The spray stops working. You call again, you pay again, the cycle repeats. This is not an accident. This is the product working exactly as designed. They do not sell you a solution, they sell you a subscription you never agreed to. The $2 method you are about to learn does not work this way. It does not attack the nervous system. It cannot be adapted to. It cannot be resisted. No amount of evolution protects a roach from it. And that is precisely why it will never appear in a television commercial, never get recommended by a pest control technician, and never be mentioned by any company whose revenue depends on your roach problem continuing indefinitely. They did not hide this from you because it fails. They hid it from you because it works too well. 1 application, permanent results, 0 repeat customers. That is their nightmare. That is your freedom. The companies praying you never finish this video are not evil geniuses. They are simply businesses protecting a revenue stream. And today that revenue stream ends. Now, let me show you exactly what this powder is, where it came from, and why 3,000 years of human history already knew what they are desperately trying to make you forget. Before we go any further, understand this. What I am about to tell you is not new. It is not experimental. It is not unproven. The solution sitting in that $2 bag has been used by human civilizations for longer than the United States has existed, longer than any modern nation has existed. We are talking about thousands of years of documented, verified, real-world results. Let us go back to ancient Egypt. Around 3,000 years ago, Egyptian grain storage workers discovered that a specific white powder found near dry lake beds kept insects completely out of their storage chambers. Pharaohs protected their entire food supply with it. It was so effective, so reliable, that knowledge of it was passed down through generations of agricultural workers like sacred information. Not magic, not ritual, pure, practical results that anyone could see with their own eyes. The Greeks and Romans documented it independently. Roman agricultural writers described a fine mineral dust applied to crops and storage facilities that eliminated pest infestations without harming the harvest, without poisoning the soil, without any of the consequences that came with other methods of the time. They did not fully understand why it worked. They only knew that it worked every single time. Across Asia, Chinese and Japanese farmers used the same substance for centuries to protect rice stores and grain warehouses. The knowledge traveled across trade routes, across oceans, across centuries, because results that real do not disappear. Now, fast forward to the modern era. In 1965, the United States Environmental Protection Agency formally evaluated this substance and classified it as generally recognized as safe for use around humans, children, and household pets. Not provisionally safe, not safe with restrictions, completely, fully safe. NASA incorporated it into equipment storage protocols to prevent insect contamination in sensitive facilities. Universities across the United States, Europe, and Australia have published peer-reviewed studies confirming elimination rates between 95 and 100% against common household insects. This is not folk medicine. This is not internet folklore. This is a substance that outlasted every empire that ever used it, earned the approval of the strictest environmental regulators on the planet, and continues to be confirmed by independent scientific research conducted right now in 2026. 3,000 years of results versus $26 billion of marketing. The evidence was never on their side. It was always on yours. Stop right here for just 1 second. I need to ask you something before we go any further. If what you have heard in this video so far has been useful to you, hit the like button right now and subscribe to this channel. And I want to be honest with you about why that matters. YouTube does not naturally push content like this to the top. The pest control industry spends millions of dollars every single year on digital advertising across this exact platform. That money buys visibility. Our $2 solution does not have a marketing budget. Every subscription, every like, every share is the only algorithm we have. You are not just clicking a button. You are making sure the next person searching for a roach solution finds this video before they find a $200 service contract. Do that one thing right now. Because what comes next is the part the chemical companies most want buried, the science, the proof, the exact mechanism that makes this powder completely unstoppable. The powder is called diatomaceous earth. Say that name out loud, diatomaceous earth. Remember it. Because once you understand what it actually is and exactly what it does, you will never look at a pest control advertisement the same way again. Diatomaceous earth is not a chemical. It is not a synthetic compound manufactured in a laboratory. It is a naturally occurring sedimentary rock ground into a fine white powder composed almost entirely of silicon dioxide, and its origin is extraordinary. Every single particle of this powder is the fossilized skeleton of a microscopic aquatic organism called a diatom. These creatures lived in lakes and oceans across the planet hundreds of millions of years ago. When they died, their silica shells accumulated on the ocean floor, compressed over millennia, and formed the deposits we mine today. You are not buying a chemical. You are buying fossilized ocean life that has been ending insect infestations since before the dinosaurs disappeared. Now, here is the science that the pest control industry does not want explained clearly. Under an electron microscope, each particle of diatomaceous earth reveals a structure of razor-sharp nano-scale edges with a highly porous surface. To a human being, this powder feels like soft talc. To an insect, it is catastrophic. When a roach walks through diatomaceous earth, those microscopic silica edges do something very specific. They penetrate and abrade the epicuticle. That is the thin, waxy outer layer that covers every insect's exoskeleton. That waxy layer is the only barrier between a roach's internal moisture and the outside environment. It is their entire defense against dehydration. Once that layer is compromised, the process is irreversible. The roach begins losing internal moisture immediately. It cannot stop it. It cannot repair the damage. It cannot compensate for the loss. The scientific term is desiccation, complete fatal dehydration from the outside in. Death occurs within 24 to 72 hours of contact, every single time. And here is the critical difference between this and every chemical spray on the market. Chemical pesticides attack biological systems, nervous systems, hormonal systems, biological processes that evolve. Roaches have developed resistance to multiple classes of chemical insecticides because biology adapts to chemical pressure. That is simply how evolution works. But no living organism on Earth can evolve a defense against physical abrasion. You cannot genetically adapt to having your protective layer destroyed by microscopic silica edges. This is not chemistry, this is physics, and physics does not negotiate with biology. This is why diatomaceous earth has worked for 3,000 years. This is why it will still work 3,000 years from now. And this is precisely why it represents an existential threat to every company selling you a monthly chemical subscription. One mechanism, zero resistance, permanent results. Now we make this real. Everything you have heard until this point is context, important context, but this section is where you actually take back control. This is the part that turns information into action, and action into permanent results. First, what you need, and I want to emphasize how simple this list is. You need food-grade diatomaceous earth, not pool-grade. Food-grade. This distinction matters. Pool-grade diatomaceous earth has been chemically treated and is not safe for indoor use. Food grade is the version the EPA classified as completely safe around humans and pets. You can find it on Amazon, at garden supply stores, at farm supply retailers, and increasingly at larger grocery stores. The price ranges from $2 to $5 per kilogram. 1 kilogram will treat an entire average-sized home with powder left over. You also need a small squeeze bottle or a bulb duster for application. An old plastic bottle with a narrow opening works perfectly. A small paintbrush works as a backup. You need a basic dust mask, not because the powder is toxic, but because inhaling any fine powder in large quantities irritates the lungs. And you need a small flashlight to see into the dark spaces where roaches actually live. That is the entire list. Everything you need costs under $10 total. Now, the 7 locations you must treat. Number 1, behind and underneath your refrigerator. The compressor generates constant heat. Roaches do not just like warmth, they require it to reproduce. This is their primary breeding ground in most homes. Number 2, inside cabinet hinges and along the back interior walls of every kitchen cabinet. Apply a thin line along the base where the wall meets the cabinet floor. Number 3, under the kitchen sink and around every pipe that enters through the wall or floor. Every gap around a pipe is a roach highway. Number 4, behind electrical outlets and light switches. Remove the cover plate, apply a small amount of powder inside the wall cavity, replace the cover. Roaches travel extensively through wall cavities between outlets. Number 5, along the base of every wall in your kitchen and bathrooms, not a thick pile. A line so thin it is barely visible. Roaches must walk through it, not around it. Number 6, inside your electrical panel box if accessible. Dark, warm, undisturbed. It is exactly what roaches look for. Number 7, under every large appliance, every piece of furniture that sits directly against a wall, and inside any storage boxes kept on the floor, the application technique is critical, thin layers only. The goal is invisible coverage, not visible piles. A thick pile of powder alerts roaches to avoid the area. A thin, nearly invisible layer gets walked through without hesitation. Now the timeline. Within 24 hours, roaches that have contacted the powder begin dying. Within 72 hours, you will see a significant and visible reduction in activity. Within 7 days, the colony is eliminated, not suppressed, not reduced, eliminated. Reapply after any deep cleaning or after exposure to moisture. Otherwise, a single application maintains its effectiveness indefinitely. $2, 7 locations, 7 days, permanently done. Let us talk about the money, specifically your money. The average American household that uses a professional pest control service pays between $150 and $300 for the initial treatment, then between $40 and $70 per month for the ongoing maintenance contract. Because remember, one treatment is never enough. That is the design. Run those numbers honestly. 1 year of professional pest control service costs between $600 and $1,200. 5 years cost between $3,000 and $6,000. 10 years cost between $6,000 and $12,000. And at the end of those 10 years, the moment you stop paying, the roaches return. Because nothing was ever permanently solved. You were never a client being helped. You were a recurring revenue line being maintained. Now look at the alternative. 1 kilogram of food-grade Diatomaceous earth costs $2 to $5. One application treats your entire home. That single application, maintained correctly, works indefinitely. Year 2 costs nothing additional. Year 5 costs nothing additional. Year 10 costs nothing additional. The 10-year comparison is not complicated, between $6,000 and $5. That is not a discount. That is not a better deal. That is an entirely different category of outcome. But the financial damage goes deeper than the service fees. Consider the hours spent waiting for technician appointments, the disruption of clearing out cabinets before each treatment, the anxiety of having synthetic chemical compounds sprayed throughout the spaces where your children eat and sleep and play on the floor. Those costs do not appear on any invoice, but you have been paying them. The pest control industry built a $12,000 problem out of a $5 solution. They did it deliberately, systematically, and successfully for decades. Today, that calculation changes. For you, and for everyone you share this with. You just learned something that $26 billion was invested to keep you from knowing. Let that sit for a moment. Not because the information was difficult to find, not because the science was unclear, but because an entire industry depends on you remaining uninformed, depends on you feeling helpless, depends on you believing that the only solution to a roach problem is an expensive one, administered by a professional, repeated every single month forever. You are not helpless. You never were. Not. A $2 bag of fossilized ocean life, applied correctly in 7 locations, will permanently eliminate what an industry worth $26 billion wants you to believe requires a lifetime of payments. 3,000 years of human civilization already knew this. The EPA confirmed it, university laboratories verified it, and now you know it. You are no longer their customer. That relationship is over. But here is where I need something from you. Think of one person right now. One friend, one family member, one neighbor who is currently paying a monthly pest control fee. Someone who is handing over $40, $50, $60 every single month for a problem that $5 solves permanently. You have the ability to save that person hundreds of dollars this year alone with a single share of this video. That is not a small thing. That is real money returned to a real person who earned it. Share this video right now, not later, now. Because later becomes never, and another month of fees gets charged to someone who deserved to know better. And drop a comment below. Tell me how much money you are done paying. Tell me how much this information just saved you. Because every comment is one more signal that this information reaches one more person before a $200 service contract does. They have $26 billion. You have $2 and the truth. Today, $2 wins.